Good morning, Twin Cities. Welcome to Reckoning with Real Estate, a show about the American dream and building a better real estate company. I'm Paige Kale with the Real Estate Collaborative, and I am joined for our second episode of a two-part series with Bill Gray. He is with the Homeownership Center, Minnesota Homeownership Center, and I'm going to read your bio one more time for those maybe who didn't listen to the first episode.
Okay.
Bill is a nonprofit public relations veteran with extensive experience across a variety of sectors. As stakeholder relations director at the Minnesota Homeownership Center, Bill is responsible for all things communications and public relations, as well as relationship building and serving as lead staff for the Homeownership Opportunity Alliance, an entity co-convened by the Center and Minnesota Housing Finance Agency. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Paige.
Yeah. We were talking that we really could probably do 4 or 5 episodes, so we'll probably have you back on at some point.
Sounds good to me.
But we're going to try to pack a lot of helpful information to our listeners in this next 30 minutes. And we left off episode 1 kind of talking about the funnel.
Yeah.
When people come to you for either financial wellness, maybe homeownership advising, kind of what that funnel might look like.
So it's very much where do you land, right? So you're a prospective home buyer. You're interested in this, and you're taking that first step of coming in and talking to an advisor and seeing how mortgage ready are you. Like we said in the last episode, these services are free. These are HUD certified homeownership advisors, free to anyone in Minnesota. They will sit down with you, pull your credit, soft pull, figure out where you are, and build you a roadmap for how to move forward. I said last time, you might come in, you might be ready as is. You might come in and you might be ready, but you're not going to be able to qualify for the best deal you could get as a first-time home buyer. Or you might come in and you might not be ready at all for whatever reason on your credit that may be. So that kind of determines where you fall. If you need to do some work on your credit, we're going to talk about coming in under the financial wellness umbrella, right? You have a goal of home ownership. You might need some help figuring out how to make your budget more manageable. You might need to figure out how to squeeze more savings out of things. You might need to establish credit in the first place. We talked about that. Folks don't necessarily have a credit record, right? If you've never borrowed, you don't have a credit record. And for that reason, you're not qualified to borrow. So it's a catch-22, right?
Yeah.
We can walk you through how to establish credit in the first place. And by the way, you should never pay for these services of how to fix your credit or establish credit. There's plenty of free options out there. Ours is one of them. We can help you figure that out. Another thing that we talk about, it's in our nature, right? Let's just make this easy. Maybe we just do contract for deed, right? Because then I don't have to qualify for anything. Don't necessarily do that. There's not the consumer protections there that there are with a mortgage. It's a very iffy area for just a general first-time home buyer. There's a place for contract for deed, but this isn't the place.
Right. They can be very predatory.
Yeah.
The contract for deeds.
Yeah. And so anyways, and I talked about the folks that come in and they might not be able to qualify for the best rate, but they can qualify for a rate in the first place. We can work with you to get you to qualify for that best rate. And it doesn't take that long. And Paige, you know this as well as I do. Even a 0.5% interest reduction over a big loan for 30 years is a whole bunch of zeros after a number.
Right. So, and it can make a huge difference in your monthly payment.
What do you qualify for? All that stuff.
And you made the point in the last episode too, which I think is a good reminder for our listeners that, if you're new to home ownership or wanting to buy a home, talk to the Homeownership Center first. Talk to one of your
Oh, for
advisors
sure. Yep.
first as the first step, because like you mentioned, you'll do a soft pull on the credit.
Mhm.
So as opposed to a lender who may do a hard pull
Mhm.
and tell you no, it's not possible. You're really there to be a partner in the
Right.
homeownership journey, which leads to, okay, so somebody's worked with you, they bought the home,
Yeah.
they're super excited. You have other services after homeownership as well.
We do, and I want to make it clear that these services are also available to anyone, and you do not have to have gone through our
That's a
services
really good
to
point.
buy your home.
Yep.
Let's say you own your home, you're trying to figure out, I don't know, how to swing a rehab loan. Let's say you needed a new roof or a new furnace or something. You can actually sit down with one of our folks and figure out what options might be out there for you, rather than putting this on your credit card, if that's even possible.
Sure.
It's a really bad idea, by the way.
Right.
So our advisors know about low or no interest programs that are out there through cities and counties.
Yep.
They can direct you there, see if you qualify, all this kind of stuff. This is not free money, but this is money that is easier to access interest wise than other options you may have, like credit card or a personal loan or that kind of thing. And so I just think it's always if you are hesitant in any way about how you're going to finance this,
Right.
talk to one of our advisors and see what kinds of options that you don't know about
Yep.
might be available out there.
Yeah, because you're not all over the airwaves or TV
Right.
advertising your
Right.
services. You're really kind of,
Right.
you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. That's one of my favorite phrases. It's
Yep,
just totally
me too.
true.
Me too.
So that's kind of the post-purchase advising. We're actually also getting more into post-purchase. I think I'll say stay tuned for that, but that's a really hot area right now. How do you keep people stable and confident in their house over time?
Well, and
Right?
especially right now, which
Uh-huh.
with insurance rates going
Oh
up,
my gosh, right?
property taxes going up, I think it is really easy for people to get kind of overwhelmed into inaction.
Right.
Which
It's true. And one of the things that we say, and you say, I'm sure, about home ownership is it's a mortgage that's not going to go up. It's going to stay what it is, not like your rent going up every month. Well, guess what? With taxes and insurance going up at the rate they're going up, it is increasing
your
a
mortgage
little bit.
Payment, if those things are wrapped
Right.
into it, are
So what do you do about
going
that?
up. Yeah.
We can help you figure that out. And again, there are opportunities out there, such as if your property tax increases over a certain percentage year to year, you can get a rebate. What do you call it? A refund, I think, if you file for a percentage of it, if you file that with your taxes. Again, our folks know about all these things. If you are having any issues at all, talk to one of our advisors for free and figure out what options you might have that you might not know about.
Yeah, this is such great information. Even for me, I didn't know kind of the breadth of services that you all provided. So this is really great information. And then we also kind of talked a little bit before we got on air about foreclosure prevention. Let's touch on that.
So there's two other places where you can kind of come in for our services. And before I talk about foreclosure prevention, because that's such a giant area, and I'll show you how valuable it is for the entire community. But you can also come in and talk to us about refinancing, right?
Okay, great.
And so I would think that hopefully pretty soon, mortgage rates are going to go down to an extent that those who bought a year ago, a year and a half ago, at 7% or whatever, are going to have the opportunity to refi maybe at 6% and save a whole bunch of money. And it doesn't sound like that's 1% isn't very much, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
Come in and talk and see, they'll put it side by side and show you what your new monthly payment will be and all that kind of stuff and what you're signing up for, right?
Yeah.
So, and the other things that they do is, let's say you've had a mortgage for 10 years
Mm-hmm.
and you refinance into another 30-year mortgage. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you can do that. You've restarted the clock on your 30-year mortgage,
Right.
or you might be able to get a 20-year mortgage and do it that way. So
I heard about that
just
recently, which
these
makes
are
a lot of
just
sense.
options, right?
Yeah.
That we can look at for you with real numbers, so
Yeah.
you can see what's going on.
Yeah, I always say, like, look at the numbers in black and white.
Yeah.
Because it really it helps, because lots of numbers involved in
Mhm.
mortgages and homeownership. So that's great. And then I know foreclosure is a very big topic, the foreclosure advising, but why don't you just give us kind of a
Well, I'll give you my stat, okay?
Okay.
So
Great.
foreclosure prevention. One would think that this is, a service that obviously benefits the home buyer if we can prevent a foreclosure, and it does. It so does.
Yeah.
But there's a government stat out there that says for every foreclosure prevented, you are preserving $80,000 in community wealth. So that's not only the home buyer, it's the bank, that still gets their money. It's the next door neighbor whose property value doesn't go down because there's a big foreclosed sign on your house. It's
$80,000.
It's the next generation. Since 2008, the Homeownership Center has successfully helped to prevent more than 40,000 foreclosures. That community wealth number is $3.2 billion just in Minnesota, just from foreclosure prevention. So we can talk more about that, what that means. But that number just blew my mind when we crunched it.
So 40,000.
40,000 foreclosures, more than that actually, prevented since 2008, since the bubble.
2008. Well, and are you, we have to head to break here in about 30 seconds, but why don't we, what is the lay of the land right now in terms of foreclosures? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I can only say anecdotally, we're getting more calls for help.
Yeah.
Whether that translates out to a pattern in a year or so, we'll see. But I do know that we get a lot of calls for this.
Yeah. And we're seeing, again, anecdotally, as a realtor, as a brokerage, we're seeing more properties pop up online that are short sales or foreclosures.
Yeah.
So with that, we are going to head into break. You are listening to Reckoning with Real Estate, and I'm joined by Bill Gray with the Homeownership Center, and we will be back for the second half in a few minutes.
Wrecking balls in flight, bringing down the light. Every swing you take.
Welcome back to Reckoning with Real Estate. I'm Paige Kale with the Real Estate Collaborative, and I am here with Bill Gray with the Minnesota Homeownership Center, and we left off talking about foreclosure prevention. You gave us some pretty staggering, impressive numbers about the work that the Homeownership Center does. If you want to refresh people on those.
The money stat, right?
The money stat, yep.
Foreclosure prevention benefits everyone in the state, not just the home buyers, and not even just the banks who get to keep getting their money every month.
Right.
But also, the next door neighbor whose property value doesn't go down because there's a foreclosure sign on the house. The next generation in the house who gets the stability of, staying in the same school maybe, and all that kind of stuff. And here's the thing, 1,000 people came to us last year for help on preventing a foreclosure. Sometimes this is a multi-year process, but of the situations that completed the process last year, 95% of those who came to us for help were able to avoid foreclosure. So that success rate is huge. And
That's
then
very impressive
stat that I threw out, 40,000 prevented since 2008 times the $80,000 community value, $3.3 billion in community wealth preserved since 2008, just by preventing foreclosures in Minnesota.
Yes, that is staggering. And when is the best time for folks? Is there a best time for folks to get in touch with you if they feel like they're getting underwater?
Oh my gosh, so important. Early, early, early. The
Okay.
minute you think there's even a hint of a problem, it's free to talk to these people, right?
Yeah.
So don't hold off because of that. The earlier you come in, the more options you have available to you. This is a very complicated legal process where different options disappear after certain amounts of time. By the time you get a pre-foreclosure notice, a lot of those options might be gone. By the time a sheriff's sale's happening, you really have very few options.
Well, and I think I'll just speak to the real estate side of it. It seems to me that, well, I know there are a lot of resources that realtors have out there to see when people are getting into trouble, and then it becomes, for lack of a better word, a little predatory, and people will start getting notices from realtors. Do not call those realtors.
Yeah.
Contact the Homeownership Center.
That's a really good
first.
point, and this reminds me of the difference between 2008 and today.
Okay,
right?
great. Yeah.
Or even coming out of COVID is probably a better example. 2008, when the bubble burst, you typically owed, if you were having a problem, you owed more on your mortgage than your house was worth.
Oh, wait, say that again. I spaced out a second. Say
So
that again.
you, in 2008, in a lot of situations, you owed more on your mortgage than the house was worth.
Yes.
So it wasn't like somebody was going to buy that for the amount of money that you needed to pay off your mortgage. Totally different in 2020 and coming out of COVID. And that's where some of that predatory could come in. You didn't have to sell your house. You don't have to sell your house. Talk to us about how to prevent a foreclosure. Selling is not your only option. So let's talk about what happens when somebody approaches us for foreclosure help. We're going to sit down with them. We're going to explain the process. It's super complicated. And like I said, different options go away over time. We're going to identify your options for preventing foreclosure. And that's, this isn't cookie cutter stuff. This is very specifically, here's your situation. Here's 6 different ways or 3 different ways or 1 way.
Yeah.
Depending on when you come in to see us, that we can move forward. And we're going to develop an action plan. We give you financial and mortgage advising. Of course, we will negotiate with your lender.
That is huge.
Let me say that again. These guys will negotiate for you with your lender.
God bless them.
We have special phone numbers. We have all this stuff that was set up after the 2008 crisis, and so it's not like it's easy, but it's easier to get in touch with people. And our advisor, they might be on hold for 45 minutes to talk to this
That's
person.
exactly what I was just thinking. That's why I said
they'll
God
do that.
Bless them.
Yep.
Listening to the looped music track playing is enough to drive a person mad.
So they will negotiate with the lender. They know about loss mitigation special programs out there. Coming out of COVID, there was Home Help Minnesota, these different resources, financial resources that could help you out. There are none of those right now today because generally, we don't have that, but we can still figure your situation out. And here's the thing. If foreclosure is the best option for you, we'll tell you that.
Sure.
And we'll walk you through it, and we'll do smooth transition advising as needed. The point is to have you have the softest landing for yourself, prevent the foreclosure if we can. And if not, try to set you up for success moving forward. And maybe you come back to this, in 7 years or 10 years, or maybe you never touch it again. That's fine too. Whatever.
Right.
We work for you and with you to figure out what the best way forward is for you.
Yeah. Well, and I think what I'm getting from all our different conversations along the way is the Homeownership Center is really there to empower people, to give them all their options so that they can make the best decision for them.
And we're not going to do it for you.
Right. But you're going to provide people with the options, and I love that. So the foreclosure prevention is really huge in terms of the work that you're doing. And just, if I had a crystal ball, which I don't, but I do think with all the changes in our economy, with AI, with
Yeah.
people being laid off, with
Yeah.
insurance costs rising, I do think we're going to start seeing more people that are in need
Yeah.
of this kind of assistance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and remind folks where they can find you.
For sure. Our website, hocmn.org. So that's Homeownership Center, Minnesota, hocmn.org. You can click on Find an Advisor on there, and it'll bring up the advisors. You can narrow it down by city and zip code. You can say, I need foreclosure help, or I need homebuyer education class, whatever. Click that filter and it'll filter it down for you, and you can call one of the organizations on there.
Great. And we do have a few more minutes left, so we're going to talk a little bit about the first generation funding. We've already decided that you're going to be back on at some point to talk about homeowners association reform legislation.
Yes.
Which that's a mouthful, but we'll see you back here at some point. But let's talk about the first generation funding that was pushed
so it's
through.
First Generation Homebuyers Community Down Payment Assistance Program.
Yeah, long.
So basically,
long acronym.
If you have never owned a home, and your parents or grandparents and grandparents, I believe, have never owned a home, then and I think legal guardians too. Anyways, it's defined by the legislature.
Yeah. Then
you qualify you are potentially eligible for this first generation down payment assistance. After you get over that hurdle, then there's some financial hurdles. Figure out whether you qualify or not. If you do, then there's a process, and this is a situation where you'll want to work with a realtor and a lender who know about this program. And again, our advisors are very great resources here. You can apply for that program and potentially receive, I believe it's up to $32,000.
That's a big chunk of money. Yeah.
And the cool thing about this is it's forgivable over 5 years as long as you continue to live in the house. So this is all about really not only getting people over that hurdle of getting into a home, but kind of giving them a little kickstart on the wealth building. And so you have to stay in the home for at least 5 years to do that. And of course, you have to qualify in the first place. But if you want to learn more about that program, the website is firstgendpa.org, firstgendpa.org. I'll say real quick, there was a whole bunch of money.
How much money was originally allocated by the legislature?
It was
in
2023. million. They did it in 2023, so the program launched in 2024 with $100 million. There's also a smaller one with Minnesota Housing, but that one is the funding's gone. They used it up. This program, a lot of the funding is gone, but we held back enough to open it up next year as well, because in 2025, the legislature passed an additional $2 million. So $100 million to start with, $2 million to keep it going, which is great. But my point is it's a much smaller pot. And so this is going to open again next year, being 2026. If you are interested in seeing if you qualify, you should look now and see how this works. And if it looks like you might be a candidate, then you should start doing the pre-work so that you're ready to go when they open that portal, because it's a very popular program and it'll probably go real quick.
Yeah, and they're probably not going to be putting any more money into it anytime soon, given the...
We would hope, and we're certainly at the legislature pushing for that, because our goal would be to have this be a program that does not go away.
Right, that's kind of a legacy program where it just keeps going year over year.
And we're chasing other options. Maybe there's foundations, this and than that we might be
Sure.
able to look
Okay.
to, but we'll see what happens. But
Okay.
our hope would be that it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
And the 2 million bridge kind of helped that to be possible.
Yep. And it really does help folks that don't have that intergenerational
Right.
wealth built
And don't
up
have
through
anybody
homeownership.
to ask about,
Right.
hey, Dad, what
Yeah.
did you do when your sink, what do they call it? The trash swisher in the sink stopped working. Well,
Trash.
you know what I
The
mean.
disposal?
You turn it on,
The
it goes.
The disposal?
The
Is that what the
disposal.
word you're?
That's what I'm looking for. Hey, I replaced it. I just didn't know what it was called.
Oh, yeah. Well, I hope they continue to fund it as well. And again, that was firstgendpa.org if you're interested. And you can also, of course, contact the Homeownership Center or REC, the Real Estate Collaborative, if you're interested. Well, this has been a great conversation. And as per usual, we can probably go on for another 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes. Housing is a very meaty topic, especially when you're talking the numbers and the financing. But bottom line, Homeownership Center is your partner in home ownership and really should be your first call if you're considering purchasing a home. And with that, we will see you next Sunday. You are listening to Reckoning with Real Estate. Have a good week.